going on, all you wonderful A-plusers out there? It is I, Stuart, here, once again, with another review for you, this time talking about Superman and Lois Season 3, Episode number 12, Injustice, the penultimate episode for Season 3. Another really good episode. In fact, I would say an almost perfect episode, but if you have seen a couple of my reviews in the last couple of weeks when I'm talking about the show, you know that there's one aspect that I just haven't really been the biggest fan of this season, and that is, of course, the teen drama. I don't think it's really well written, and to me it just has been kind of making the show feel like they're just padding out a lot of the episodes, and it's too bad too, because we've had like 2 seasons with the kind of subtlety drama, like it was there, but it wasn't like heavy drama or anything like that. And I was kind of hoping this season would show a little more payoff with it. Like I was hoping from what we got in the beginning of the season, where we had basically the 4 teenagers of the show kind of working together as a team, specifically when it came to the incident with Jonathan's truck. I was kind of hoping we would get more of that this season, but instead we focus a lot on just kind of teen drama that I just really don't care about, basically. And it's really just the tension between Jordan and Sarah. So basically it's a really weird kind of thing where basically Junior is trying to convince everyone that there is another superhero in town other than Superman, and no one of course is believing him. And then you have Jordan trying to be like, well, maybe there is another superhero in town and maybe he's like pretty cool. So he's almost kind of like bragging, but I don't think he was. I think bragging is kind of like maybe partially accurate, but it definitely, he wasn't being the most responsible. So I do want to say that, again, I wouldn't say that Jordan was like innocent in this situation, but what makes this kind of annoying is the way Sarah really blows it out of proportion when she complains about it to her mom by being like, oh, he was bragging to everyone and that kind of stuff. And of course Lana mishears it, so then she tells this to Clark and Lois. And again, I'm not trying to say that Jordan shouldn't have been more careful with his words, but of course, just with the game of telephone that kind of goes on there, it kind of, they make it seem like it's way worse than it actually was. However, that is, how it was in the beginning of the episode. There is something that happens kind of towards the end of the episode that I'll get a little more into, when I get there, but that's kind of the teen drama stuff that I just wasn't the biggest fan of in this episode. It wasn't as bad as it was, I'd say, like, from a couple episodes ago, but it wasn't fun for me anyways. It just kind of felt like padding. The other part of the episode, again, kind of felt like padding, but it was just very meh, was the Kyle and Jonathan kind of storyline, where basically Kyle is treating Jonathan a bit too showing a bit too much favoritism basically towards him, and Jonathan of course just wants to be treated normal, but Superman or Clark overhears this and decides to tell Kyle himself to treat Jonathan like normal. Kyle thinks that Jonathan narked on him, so again, kind of another game of telephone in that kind of way, like someone hears one thing and then regardless, it was kind of, again, not very entertaining part of the episode. In fact, I actually thought like there was going to be kind of a funny punchline or something at the very end of this, but instead you just have Kyle kind of being like, hey Jonathan, just talk to me in person when you have an issue with me, next time just tell me about it. I thought there was going to be kind of a funny punchline where, like, after he hears he's been too easy on Jonathan, maybe he starts hazing Jonathan again like he was before, but I don't know. Again, just kind of padding. Again, I keep using that word today, but that's really how I would describe that. But then we get to the good stuff in the episode, the stuff that was kind of amazing, and that is Lois worrying about the ramification of Lex Luthor now being released from prison. And what we get kind of here is a little bit of a montage of Lex Luthor and his time that he spent in prison. And we see that this Lex Luthor, not only does he look like he can, definitely kind of take most people on in a fight, but he's also a guy who's not afraid to take a beating, because like his whole thing when he gets introduced is that he's being very threatening, but of course he's also like surrounded by these other inmates as he's trying to be all threatening, which made me think, oh, is he gonna like what, beat all these guys up in a fight? But no, he kind of lets Otis and the other like inmates beat the absolute shit out of him, just so you know, when he gets his revenge, it's gonna be that much sweeter for him on that part, I guess you could say. But basically, yeah, he you know, takes over the prison, and they make it seem like this happens like his first day like in prison. He you know, basically kind of takes it over by basically threatening the warden's son through this really intense kind of scene between him and the warden. Something I thought was kind of funny about this whole thing about him in prison is that you're thinking, you know, when it comes to Lex Luthor, a lot of the times he gets ahead of the game by bribing everyone. Not this Lex Luthor. No, this Lex Luthor gets ahead of the game by threatening everyone. But like, you know, it kind of reminds me of I can't remember the villain's name, unfortunately, just Richard Dragon, that's what it was. Richard Dragon from Arrow, I believe he was in season 6 of that show. Very much like Lex Luthor, the way he kind of seems to have everyone on his payroll, like towards the end of his time in prison, you know, very much seems very similar to Richard Dragon. So we get this montage of him in prison, like for the, like, you know, past 14 years, and he's finally released, and we get what I think is a really cool like scene where as he's being released, we get like a shot, a flashback if you will, of him like going to prison, and how one of the people in the audience asked Lex Luthor if his wife is now going to take over LexCorp. We then get the shot of him leaving prison and he's getting his belongings, and I love this. We have a picture of him holding a picture of his daughter, and then him holding his wedding ring. Well, he drops the wedding ring but keeps the photo of his daughter, which kind of says a lot, you know, especially when you compare it to the scene before where someone was asking, you know, if his wife is going to be taking over LexCorp. It's like, I love how so much was said without being said there, you know, from that like kind of match scene, that scene like matching and everything. So Lex Luthor, yes, you know, Michael Cudlitz from The Walking Dead, as I always know him from, he nails it as Lex Luthor. This is not, you know, this you know, when they mentioned that John Cryer was no longer going to be Lex Luthor in Superman and Lois, I thought, that's too bad, because a part of me really wanted to see what John Cryer could do as a serious Lex Luthor. I saw that he could kind of pull it off as he did in like his introduction to Supergirl. So I was a little bit bummed when he wasn't going to be reprising his role, but now seeing what they're doing with Lex Luthor and how this is a very different type of Lex Luthor than the one that we get in Supergirl. This is not like, I mean, I'm sure he is still an evil scientist like in the comic books and things like that, but that's definitely not how he presents himself, pretty much. In fact, you know, if you were to look at this guy and just kind of like even the way he dresses, you wouldn't even assume this guy's like a billionaire or anything like that. You would just kind of think, yeah, he's like your average Joe or something. But regardless, or, you know, average Joe that goes to the gym a little bit way too much, but regardless, yeah, I'm absolutely loving his performance as Lex Luthor so far. Now we cut back to Smallville with basically there's a storm kind of brewing as Lex Luthor is heading to Smallville, and something I do find kind of funny is that there literally is a storm, like a tornado actually forms in Smallville, and I find it funny that you know, it's implied Lex Luthor just was like nonchalantly walking through, like obviously I'm sure he wasn't that close to the tornado, he had to have been far enough distance away, but like I love how the tornado didn't stop him from getting to his destination is what I'm kind of getting at, because after he leaves prison, he doesn't get a ride or anything like that. He just tells Otis to pick him up somewhere very specific. We don't know where this is, and he just starts walking basically. So the tornado hits Smallville and Superman is about to stop it, kind of similar to the way that the Flash stops tornadoes by like running in the opposite direction, although in Superman's case it's flying in the opposite direction, and he has the added bonus, of course, is cooling breath. But Jordan, of course, joins him because he wants to be helpful, which I didn't bring this up before, but when it got to Clark and Lois about Jordan, you know, quote unquote bragging about being a superhero, they grounded him and took away his suit. So Jordan is there trying to help Clark, even though Clark is telling him not to, that he can take care of it on his own, but Jordan really wants to help. So they do take care of the tornado, and I will give, you know, Jordan credit, because we do see a car flying in the off from the tornado, and it's about to hit a bunch of people, and if Jordan wasn't there, you know, it's possible Superman could have gotten to it, but it would have slowed him down with stopping the tornado. So honestly, Jordan being there may have been a good thing in that regard, but not in the next regard, which is of course when all the people want to go and save and say thank you for saving them, and they get really close to him, as they're taking kind of selfies. And this isn't smart because for many reasons. For one, now you've kind of confirmed everyone's suspicion that there is a superhero in Smallville, but also you have people super close to you, and how some people could get, it's surprising one of them didn't just kind of go for his mask and try to yank it off. That was a huge possibility that could have happened. Thankfully it didn't, but regardless, he was being very, very careless, and we get a lot of drama in the very next scene. But before I talk about the drama aspect about this afterwards, I do want to mention how well the tornado scene was actually filmed, and how the special effects looked really good, to the point where my girlfriend, who was in the room with me when I was watching the episode, she kind of glimpsed at it and actually thought we were watching the movie Man of Steel. So I thought that was pretty fun. So filmed extremely well. I just really wanted to give credit to that. But yeah, basically, Jordan has been giving more reasons for, Sam Lane and of course Lois and Clark to not trust him as a superhero. So they're giving him a talking to, but he is starting to give a lot of attitude back. And when Clark basically tries to basically put his hand on his shoulder, Jordan uses his super strength to basically knock his arm away. And you can tell Clark is pissed, and he is trying to hold it in, but basically just tells him to go to his room and never to do that to him again. Very, very intense scene. And I do love the sound design when it comes to the way that the super strength is utilized in the show. It's something that I should have brought up a few other times, the way it's been used in the past, but here in particular, the fact that the sound really made the difference, because obviously, if you're looking at it without the sound, it doesn't look like Jordan hit him that hard. It's kind of like the sound effect that adds to it, that really kind of adds to the intensity of the scene. I just thought it was awesome, but it's not over yet. We get one more amazing scene, and that is of course the confrontation between Lex Luthor and Lois and Clark. So Lex Luthor, we find out that this whole time he has actually been walking to the Kent farm. I want to see, I really want to know how many miles the prison was from the Kent farm, because it's implied that it was a really good distance away. We just, don't get to know the exact details, but regardless, he's there and he's ready to let Lois have it and tell him how pissed he is that, she took away, as he sees it, 14 years of his life, 17 years of his life. He is pissed. He basically unloads on her and tells her, basically threatens her to quit reporting, because reporting is what got him in prison. If he sees her again, doesn't say what he's gonna do, but basically kind of says or else, essentially. Something I really like about this Lex is that he never used any literal threatening words, which is actually something they even bring up, because they do show this Lex Luthor is smart. He doesn't directly threaten Lois or Clark, and he doesn't, what I'm trying to say is that he does a good job of being threatening, but also knowing, that, it's very likely that Lois is being watched by both Superman and the DOD. So he knows exactly when to stop and not escalate something. So it's interesting. They want you to know that he is badass, and just don't judge him by his looks, because he's a lot smarter than he appears. Something I thought was really cool. So again, I really do like his performance as Lex Luthor. When it comes to comparing him to John Cryer, what I love is that you can't really say, you could say which one you like better than the other, but you can't say one does a better job of Lex Luthor than the other, because they're playing him in two completely different ways. And I think that was done on purpose. I do like how they didn't want to step over Supergirl in that kind of sense, if that makes sense. So I really like his overall performance as Lex Luthor. I really look forward to seeing how they expand on his character in the upcoming, not only in the next episode, but of course the next season, as he's going to be returning as a series regular. But overall, guys, great episode. Not perfect, just again because of the padding, but and I'm finally done using that word. You know, you have my word that I will not say padding anymore. Oh dang, I just said it again. But you know, jokes aside, at the end of the day, these are just my A+ opinions. We here at A+ Opinions always want to know what you guys think, so definitely let me know your thoughts on this episode in the comments below. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, but of course, guys, above all, don't forget to keep it A+, and I will talk to you all later. Goodbye.